The Herd. Wherever you may be and however you may be listening, we are live in Los Angeles on iHeartRadio, Fox Sports Radio, and right here on the magic of FS1. Joy Taylor is joining me on an unbelievable day today. The Jets just blew up their front office. Right thing to do. Joy will have that in 25 minutes.
Yep.
So the Jets finally figured out their GM didn't know what he's doing. I'll have strong opinions on that because I think it's the right thing to do going forward. Joy, how are you?
I'm great. Well, I have some opinions, but I'm good.
Okay, let's start with this. Zion Williamson going to the Pelicans. Man, it's a disappointment. Well, not for New Orleans, right? I am going to propose something this morning that is going to upset lots of people. But actually, everybody wins. Zion Williamson has not been drafted yet. He does not have an agent. There's a reason for it. He can go back to Duke. I would not suggest that, but I have a plan. If I'm Zion Williamson, I do not go to New Orleans. I have not been drafted yet. I can take my name out of the draft. Oh, this has happened multiple times. I'll give you an example coming up. I would call the Pelicans and say, I'm taking my name out of the draft, so trade me. If they do not elect to do that, takes his name out of the draft, he's the number one pick next year, he calls Greg Popovich and says, can I play for the national team for a year? This happened in hockey. Eric Lindros was Zion. They were calling him the greatest young hockey prospect ever. He was a Canadian, and he said, no, I'm not playing for Quebec. I don't like their management. I'm not playing. He played for the national team in Canada. They won a silver, I believe, and everybody still sort of liked him. Then he ended up leaving the country and playing for Philadelphia, and it was the right move, by the way. Zion Williamson can go play for the national team. You will not hold it against him. By the way, New Orleans, this ends up good for you. I'll get to that in a second. This is what John Elway and Eli Manning did. The NFL has never been the individual star league. The NFL is about the flag and America, the military and patriotism and the shield, and it's all about us. And yet, Elway and Eli Manning said, no, we're individuals. We're not going to our teams. 4 Super Bowls, and everybody got over it. And we don't talk about it. The NBA, my friends, is the player empowerment league. You don't think we'd get over it? We understand when guys leave now. In fact, Kevin Durant not leaving a great team. People are like, you got to go to New York. What? People now have you leaving from great organizations to bad one, great owners to bad one, great rosters to bad ones. Folks, we live in a time where college athletes, they have a transfer portal. Players transfer, they decommit. It's their right. That's the new era we grow up in. I've seen coaches in the last year in college sports take a job and then 4 weeks later, take another job. They transfer before they've got their office finished. It's the era we grow up in. Zion Williamson, did he look happy? Do you think Nike's happy? He's seen this. It's called Anthony Davis. 7 years in New Orleans is what you want? Take your name out of the draft. You're number one next year. You're not going to hold it against him after one monster dunk for the USA national team. You're like, I love that guy. I want that guy on my team. Or, now I know New Orleans right now is like, this is outrageous. You hate our city. I don't hate the Saints. Packers, Saints, Oklahoma City, small market's not the issue. Your issue is you're a bad organization. If Zion goes to the Pelicans and David Griffin and says, okay, I'm not playing here. What team in the NBA now has 4 really good players and they don't fit? Philadelphia. Philadelphia goes, give us Zion, take who you want. Zion goes to Philadelphia. New Orleans gets Simmons. Where did Ben Simmons play college, Joy?
LSU.
Louisiana. Ben Simmons, I'll argue all day, is a 22-10 guy for the rest of his career, as long as you don't have a big fella in the middle clogging the lane. Then you have Anthony Davis in New Orleans, and you go to whoever gives you the highest, and you get a bunch of picks and a bunch of players. And yeah, you don't get Zion, but we've seen Zion. It's called Anthony Davis. Didn't do anything for you. He's got a better personality, But many would say he won't be as good as Anthony Davis. He didn't do anything for you in the West. But if you could get a Ben Simmons and picks, and then you could already have Drew Holiday, and then you go with Anthony Davis and you trade it and you get more picks and more players, you are battling for a playoff next year with multiple picks, a star guard, a two guard, bigs, maybe a Kuzma, maybe an Ingram. New Orleans doesn't lose here. They're actually better. You just have to get over it. Kiki Vandeweghe did this in the NBA, by the way. Dominique Wilkins did this in the NBA. Dominique Wilkins said, I'm not playing for the Utah Jazz. Forced their hand. You know where he ended up? Right next to where he played college basketball at Georgia, the Atlanta Hawks. Nike'd support it. The league privately likes it. David Griffin, who's a deal maker, could end up with 8 new players for Zion and Anthony Davis. We live in the empowerment culture. Take your name out of the draft. You haven't been drafted yet. You haven't put on a jersey yet. Teams just have the right to pick you. The kid could go back to Duke. He doesn't have an agent. Now, he does love college basketball, but I think that's a step backwards, right? That's a step backwards. I wouldn't do that. But overseas, work out for a year, re-enter as a number 1 pick, call Greg Popovich. This is what Eric Lindros did. I'll play for the national team. I'm not going to a bad organization. And Lindros left the country to play for Philadelphia. We got over it. This makes so much sense to me. You could get an LSU kid, Ben Simmons, and more. Maybe you get Embiid. But the bottom line is, if I wake up this morning, let me ask you, you watched the draft last night. Did Zion seem happy to you? There's reports he wanted to play for New York. Here was the interview.
When you saw New Orleans got the number 1 pick, you didn't think for a second, oh, I could be in New Orleans?
It's definitely a possibility, but, I mean, it's not sure until it actually happens.
Elway and Eli Manning did it. Dominique did it. Kiki did it. Lindros did it. And those were in leagues. Hockey's about the team, not the guy. Football's about the team, not the guy. NBA is about the guy. We don't hold it against guys very long if the superstar of a generation goes, I'm out. You guys all hated LeBron for an hour. Miami didn't hate him. TV ratings didn't hate him. LeBron was not a villain for very long in Miami. Then he went back to Cleveland. Now he's in Los Angeles. We're still talking LeBron. KD, that is outrageous. I don't know. He keeps holding trophies at the end of the year as finals MVP. These players, Elway, Eli, KD, LeBron, Lindros, they're right. Dominique, Atlanta, he's still an icon in the South. And it's not a loss for New Orleans, and it's not anything against small markets. Green Bay's well-run. The Saints are well-run. Oklahoma City's relevant. Portland's in the Western Conference Finals. It's a small market combined with, this is an organization that just isn't well-run. They got NFL guys in the NBA front office. It's not the way you do it. But if I'm Zion this morning, I've seen what 7 years looks like. It's not good. I'm not doing it. I'm a generational talent. I'm not doing it. And this kid is incredibly likable. Eric Lindros wasn't as likable. Eli doesn't have a big personality. Elway was never likable. He was a cocky Stanford kid. This kid is lovable. The smile, the game, the passion, the love. You'll be mad at him for 1 minute. And then you'll see him for the USA national team, or you'll see him training overseas, or you'll see him in Phoenix or Dallas training, getting ready for and you'll be like, you think a team's not going to pick him number 1 because he didn't want to go play for the Pelicans? You got to be kidding me. You don't think you're going to be number 1 next year? I don't think this is an option. I think it's the only option that makes sense. New Orleans is a playoff challenging team next year by moving Zion and AD. I got to get 6 picks and 3 players, and you could have a Ben Simmons, a Kyle Kuzma, a Brandon Ingram. You could have 4 picks. You could maybe get better than that. But I'm not going to New Orleans if I'm Zion. Nope. No, kids have a right. I'm a broadcaster. I can do this for 50 years. This kid's got 9 years of peak talent. He's trained his whole life for this. He gets an opinion too. Elway got one. Eli got one. Lindros got one. He doesn't get one. And you know privately, Nike be all in on this. New Orleans, you think my ideas a negative? Is Ben Simmons, Kyle Kuzma, and 7 picks a negative? And that's just one of my ideas. David Griffin's a sharp cat. He could get a tonnage for AD and Zion. A lot of people are freaking out about what happened to the New York Knicks last night. And a lot of people think the Lakers, 11-4 winners. That's not what I see. That's coming up. Plus, Nick Wright this hour. The Herd's brought to you by SeatGeek. The ticket industry has not changed in a long time. There's a lot of places you go, customer service, not a big deal. SeatGeek said, we're going to change that. That's why they have 50,000 five-star reviews in the App Store. SeatGeek's focused on making your experience as easy as possible, pulls in millions of tickets all over the web, rates each deal, scale 1 to 10, puts them on an interactive seat map. Pretty simple. Green dots, good deals. Red dots, lousy deals. Overpriced. I have always loved the old green dot, red dot interactive web map. I'm a simple man. It's really easy to figure out. Green go, red stop. Best of all, my listeners get $10 off their first SeatGeek purchase. SeatGeek supports our show. Support them, support us. Got to use the promo code to get $10 off your first purchase, though. And the